Hi Stampers, welcome to Great Inspirations. My name is Kim Tolbert and I create handmade cards and share ideas with you. So I'm very glad you're here today, and I am very glad to be inside at the moment because where I live in Indiana, we are in the midst of a heat wave, as are other places in the Midwest and even on up more into the Northeast because my cousin lives in a place called Philadelphia, New York, not too far from Buffalo. And yesterday it was in the upper 80s there. Not all that common for this time of year. And to have temperatures in the 90s here at the end of June in southeastern Indiana, it is not that common at all. But we're doing the best we can. We're keeping hydrated, coming in to cool off, but still getting out and enjoying the outside a little here and there. So this was a good day, actually, this afternoon for me to make some cards, and that is what I have done, as you can see here. And yes, I still have a lot of birthday cards here, but I want you to notice, look, I created a Christmas card. I actually was going through some of my older papers, and I came across a pad of paper that, I don't know, it's several years old, and I really liked the red and the green with the black, and I think that's probably why I'd saved some back. And so I created this Christmas card. But this card fold is called a diagonal Z-fold. Now I love Z-fold cards. Some of them are more complicated than others, but many are quite simple, but yet they have, they're different enough from a regular card where you just open it up that people are still like, oh wow, but they're quick and easy to make. So here is, like I said, the Christmas card, and as you can see we have pattern paper here, and then on this side of the fold, and then one here, and then here I just stamped a greeting, as well as putting a little greeting here on a mat. And as you can see, I have all different colors, all different patterns. I kind of like this happy birthday with the little dog. And cutting the card base is very easy. And I know you're wondering about the diagonal cuts for the paper. Well, that's fairly easy too. And I can show you a couple different ways that you can do these diagonal cuts, and then you can choose the method that works best for you. So let's get started. Move these out of the way. Here's this pretty one with all the purples. And I really liked this navy and lighter blue paper. And then me and my oceans. This was some more paper that was my favorite, that is also from several years back. Okay, we'll just put those right up here. Now the first thing we're going to need is a piece of cardstock that's 8.5 by 11. And then we're going to get a trimmer. You can use a scoreboard to do the scoring we're going to do. Or you can use a trimmer. It doesn't matter, whichever one you prefer. But what we're going to do first is we're going to turn our paper so that the 8.5 inch side is at the top of the trimmer or your scoreboard, and we're going to go over 3 inches. And I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm just going to make a little teeny tiny mark right there. I don't know if you can really see that, just a little pencil mark at the 3 inches. Actually, I got a little over 3 inches. But if you didn't have a pencil, but you have a score blade on your trimmer, what you can do is just go in just ever so slightly and make a little indentation right there. And that would also, just something that you can see where that 3 inch mark is. Okay, now on our left hand side of the paper, we have made the mark. Now we're going to take this paper and turn it So the other 8-inch side is at the top, and we're going to go over 3 inches. And I'm going to take my pencil and make a little mark again. So we have on opposite sides on the 8-inch piece of paper, we have a little mark at 3 inches. Now if you wanted to just use a ruler and measure 3 inches, you can do that. You can measure on one side, on the left side, from bottom up 3 inches, and then on the right side, from the top down 3 inches. Okay, now we're going to put this back in the trimmer, and we're going to use the cutting blade. And in our little cutting trough here, we're going to line up those 3-inch marks that we made. There's one, and then my other one's way down here. And we're just going to cut. And boom, you have 2 card bases. Now that's one thing I do like about this Z-fold card, or fun fold, whatever you care to call it, is it will give you 2 card bases from one 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. You know, just like our regular cards where we either cut them at, you know, the 4 1/4 by 11 or the 8.5 by 5.5, and then, you know, we score them in half. So this does give you 2 card bases. So what we're going to do with each of these card bases is I'll need to pull my little arm out here, and we're going to put them in the trimmer with the larger side, the longest side to the left. And we're going to score at 4 1/4 inches. Let me make sure that's right. Oh goodness, did I not leave my directions here? Oh yes, there they are. 4 1/4. Oh, I thought I was going crazy. The heat was getting to me. So we're scoring at 4 1/4. Then we're going to move it down to 8.5 and score. So we have, that is not, I didn't move it all the way down. Oh, okay, I see. Strike that. Yeah, I don't edit. We're going to 4 1/4 and we scored. And then we're going to 8. It's not 8.5, it's 8. I thought that didn't sound right. 8 inches. And now we fold. The smaller section is a mountain fold, and then here between the middle and the larger section is a valley fold. And there's our card base. Now let's score the second card base, since I totally flubbed up the first one. We'll put it right back in here at 4 1/4, and we'll score. And then we'll move down to 8, and we'll score again. And then we will do on the smaller end, that is a mountain fold. And then between the middle and the larger piece is a valley fold. And we're going to get the trimmer out of the way for a moment. And we will get that bone folder. And we're going to put a really good crease on our folds. And there's the card base. Now for the angled pieces, to put a layer on these, you will need some papers. Now I decided to use 3 designs. You could use 2. You could use maybe this one, and this one could be the same, and the middle could be different, or, you know, just however you want. But I did use the 3 designs. And The sizes, I will have those on my corresponding blog post. I will have all the measurements for these pieces of paper and for the cardstock for everything, and all the supplies that you need. But for the smaller one, it is 3.5 inches long by 2 3/4 wide, and the middle one is 4.5 inches long by 3.5 inches wide, and then this one is just our 4 by 5 1/4. So yeah, 5 1/4 long, 4 wide. And then if you want to put something in this middle right here, which this piece of cardstock is light enough, you could just actually stamp a greeting or anything you want there. But you will need, it's the same as this middle piece right here, and it too is 4 1/4 long by 3.5 wide. And as you can see, I already have a little greeting stamped on there. And I will show you how to get these pieces angled properly. Now what you do, because you want about an 1/8 of an inch border around the side, just like we always do when we put a first layer on. But we have to remember that if we put an 1/8 of an inch at the bottom when we lay our cardstock down, it's not going to be exactly right when we cut it, because then the piece of pattern paper will come clear to the top, and we want that 1/8 inch border at the top as well. So what you do, you move it up. Instead of an 1/8 inch, you move it up 1/4 of an inch. And I eyeballed it. If you don't want to eyeball it, you can measure it with a ruler. Another thing you can do is cut a strip of paper that is 1/4 of an inch long and just put it right along here, and then just bump your piece of pattern paper up against it. So now we're going to flip it over, and you have options. If you care to just get your scissors, which I have some right here, and you can just cut, just using the card base as a guide. And then we'll move it down, and there we go. We have our border. And don't worry if it's not, don't be getting out your ruler measuring to see if it's going to be 100% correct, because nobody's going to do that. But if it looks good to you, you're good to go. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to this card base, and then we'll move on to the next one, and I'll show you another option that you can use when you're doing your diagonals. Well, there we go. And then we'll just get this right on here. Now we're moving on to the middle, and we have our piece of cardstock. We're going to do the exact same thing. Kind of get it all centered, and then we move it up a little here. And we're going to turn it over. And what you can do if you care to is get a pencil, draw a line, and then you can use your scissors or your trimmer, which we would do the same as we did for the card base. We just line up the ends of the mark in the little cutting trough there. Cut, and there is our angled piece of pattern paper. Okay, and there we go. It goes on this side. We have to remember that the middle pattern paper goes on the opposite side of the card than the other two pieces of paper. Okay, get that adhered. And then we're going to talk about what we have to do if we want to put that piece of cardstock in there in the middle section of the inside of the card. So we'll get this lined up. there's that. And now we have our middle of the card. Now, yes, it's the same section, but it needs to angle up this way, whereas this angles down. So you want to turn it over so that you're on the proper side. And if you stamped it, you want to make sure it's right side up. And then we go about 1/4 inch. And then flip it over. And you can cut, or you can use the pencil. And then I have one that's already cut here. So we will adhere that. As you can see, I messed up because I angled it wrong. So I had to cut it again. Okay, well, I hadn't cut it yet. I had only had the line drawn on, and it was just awful. So anyway, there we go. And then for this one, you would do the exact same thing as we've done, and I do have one of those cut right here. We'll just put that right back in there, but it's cut at an angle. So we'll have our nice little mat. Now, another thing that you can do if you find this, like if you're going to make a lot of these and you would find this tedious, let's go ahead and put our It's Your Day on here. But you can make templates, and I will show you how to do that. Let's put this off to the side a bit. So we just put dimensionals on the one side of the greeting. And there we go. There's the card. And so when you have these cut, you can take some cardstock and just cut it the same size. Have the cardstock the same size as these pieces. Put this piece over it, draw your line, and cut. And then when you go, you'll have your 3 templates. Now this one has 2 sides. This is for this piece with the pattern paper, and when you flip it over, your template would be for the inside of the card, for the cardstock or whatever you'd care to put there. So all you would do is, I'll use this piece here, you would take your paper, cut to size, put it behind, put this behind your paper, flip it, and either cut or draw your line and cut. And then you will have your angled cut. So we'll do that. So we're putting it the side we want, put our paper on top, turn it over, and draw your line, and then I'll just use some scissors to cut that off. Definitely could use the trimmer. And there we go. We just want to remember, see, I marked an X here and I put, the small, medium, and large. And these are the sides for the pattern paper. Like I say, you put it on the top, draw your line and cut. Now on this one, this is for the piece on the inside, and you would do the same thing. You would just put your paper on top, flip it over, draw your line, and cut. And then you could keep these templates for the next time you want to make one of these cards. And here you go, there's the one we just made. Now I feel like I should have really put this over here, but that's okay. It's kind of different. I like it shows the gingham because I like gingham. So here we have this card that we just made, and then we have the ocean card and the pretty flowers, the blue, light blue and navy, and the pretty purples, and the dog. I like the dog. I'll put this one up here, and the sand dollar, and of course my Christmas card. Now, as I mentioned, everything that we did here will be on my corresponding blog post, and the link to that will be in the description of this video. And also, what you will find on my blog post, and I'll show you right now, is sort of a bonus card, I guess, because I made 2 more diagonal cut Z-folds, but these are mini Slimline cards. These cards fit in an envelope like you would mail a letter in, and they are, I think, like 6 1/4 by 3 1/4, or maybe 6 by 3 1/4, and they fit in there very nicely. The process for doing these is exactly the same as for these. The only difference with this card is each section is 3 1/4 inches, so it folds in. You know, you can't see on the sides, you can't see the other sections. Like here you can see the middle, and here you can see the back. The only place you can see all 3 pieces of paper, pattern paper, is at the top on this one. And as you can see here, I only used 2 designs. These 2 are the same, and then this one. And then here's this one. So I have the instructions and the measurements for these cards on my blog, but like I say, you make them, it's just a different size, but the process is the same as for these cards. And these fit in a regular A2 size envelope. If you use Stampin' Up! Envelopes, those are the medium envelopes. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, stamp happy.